Jose for the bowl.
Second round action resumes here on streaming board 1. We've seen yet another last leg decider. Epic encounter. Dimitri van den Berg, well, raced into a 5-1 lead, had darts to win 6-1, then survived match darts, eventually coming through 6-5 against Richard Veenstra. But it's van den Berg who got the job done. He will await the winner of this match. Jose De Sousa, who came through a last leg decider with Louis Williams.
95.
And Steve Lennon, a little bit more comfortable. He beat Jack Slaughter at 6-2. But you'd have to say, both players trying to play themselves back into form. Jose De Sousa's form tailed off. Still qualifying for the TV events, but not making an impact after actually winning the Grand Slam a few years back. Steve Lennon failing to qualify for the Worlds.
100.
So, kind of a fresh start this year for the pair of them. So Lennon, in the first couple of Players' Championships, he's on the streaming board, beat Krzysztof Ratajski. So the signs that he's working his way back into form. De Sousa just not reached those heights that were in the Grand Slam, Rod.
No, that was, as we mentioned with van den Berg, in the period of behind closed doors play, and there was
99.
Always a discussion point is, would that form continue as normal darts and normal sport and normal society resumed post-COVID? And for some players it has and some it hasn't, and De Sousa hasn't been able to find the magic he had in 2020, has he? That's not to say he won't be able to find it again at some point, and he's still,
15.
courtesy of that win, ranked 15th, I think, in the order of merit, so still.
He had a good run at the Worlds, didn't he?
He did.
There was a
60.
He was, well, to quote you, he was the master of brickmanship, wasn't he? He was 2-0 down to Simon Whitlock and won, 3-0 down to Ryan Searle and won, and eventually was well beaten by Gedwin Price. But they were one of few highlights last year for Jose. Looking to start brightly here, and does start brightly. Good hold. It's one leg to Jose De Sousa. Here's the opening leg. Unfortunately, I don't have a scoreboard at the minute, but that is just the opening leg. And it was just a hold of throw for the man from Portugal.
180.
Our scoreboard returns, there we see. And it returns at the site of a maximum for Jose.
Well, that's always been his stock in trade, hasn't it? Jose De Sousa, always been one of the biggest maximum hitters on the PDC Pro Tour. We saw him set records and new benchmarks for 180 hitting in the Premier League.
Yeah, he had one season at the Premier League, and he lost out in the finals to Johnny Clayton. And
60.
Like we've just seen Dimitri van den Berg, he was probably one of the biggest victims of the restructure when it reduced from 10 players to 8. You feel if it stayed at 10, he'd have probably got a second year in it, but
55.
Needless to say, he'll be trying to get himself back up there and put himself in the mix. But at the minute, it's just trying to get himself into consistent form and challenging for titles again. That will be the main objective
93.
for Jose.
$97.
Well, as is frequently the case, a head-scratching visit from Jose De Sousa. It almost seemed then he was just throwing at a big treble randomly. Anyway, he got down to an 84 in the end. His opponent is now on a one-darter. 64 remain. That leaves the bullseye, which he's missed.
36.
He was nowhere near, was he? So
no.
Steve Lennon, who eyeing up double 14. Double 7, awkward, and gets it. Good stuff from Scuba Steve to level us up at one leg apiece. Jose De Sousa, much like you mentioned in the counting there, Rod, we harp on about Peter Wright needs to settle on a set of darts. It'll never happen. And it's kind of, you don't feel like Jose's ever going to be one of the best counters in the sport. He relied on his power scoring to get him goals, and now that's the power scoring's not there as it used to be. You can see where the results have kind of dried up for him. If you score big, it doesn't matter if you give yourself more opportunities, and that was the strongest part of Jose's game. Speaking of scoring big, look at Lennon here, unlucky.
140. 134.
Decent switch though from Jose.
$128.
Well, it was, but via the treble, he avoided leaving 165 with the single, didn't he?
Yeah,
So
in the end, it was a gamble, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the way he played. We've just talked about, haven't we? It was he just plays aggressive and just backs himself. I thought Lennon may have just stayed. He just won the leg on 7-7 as well. And I think if you're going to get one dart at a double,
102.
does it really matter which one it is?
8 is the one that matters here.
Game shot.
Jose De Sousa leads Steve Lennon by 2 legs to 1.
Yeah, solid hold in the end from Jose. Real tasty encounter coming up from the third round.
45.
Last 32 on this board next. Luke Humphreys taking on the current European champion Ross Smith, and two players who were pretty vocal about being omitted from the Premier League. We're going to
26.
have a chance to see them go head to head.
$99.
Two players we saw on this stream earlier as well, Mike Dedecker and Callum Ridds, currently on throw,
75.
3-2 Dedecker. Good game, averages both up in the high 90s.
$58.
Well, we're getting into round 3 action, as we
45.
said. Gary Anderson and Boris Kritschmar just warming up. Price and Rock. Ryan Joyce about to take on Chris Landman, who just beat Martin Lukeman to book his place
59.
in the third round.
$171.
Well, Jose just decided to switch down the bottom board, something we associate with Madders Razmat, but did it with great effect. And got a little wobble from Steve, no big treble.
Well, in the words of the song, he throws where he wants. Jose De Sousa, he throws where he wants.
Six without a big treble for Lennon. Here's the breathing space incoming for Jose. Treble 18 for the ball. He's had a poke at ball earlier on. He was nowhere near, and he wasn't much closer there.
75.
49 left. Needs the treble just above that first dart, can't find it. And
82.
now De Sousa has his pick of double. Tops is the pick, and that's what he hits. And now Jose De Sousa extends his lead to 3-1.
20 dart breaker throw, though. Steve Lennon will feel like he surrendered that break.
Well, Jose doesn't care how many darts it was.
No, he certainly doesn't. I don't think any player does when you get a crucial breaker throw. It's got him a decent advantage. Looking to set up a clash with stablemate Dimitri van den Berg.
Well, these Players' Championships are fascinating to try and plot each day. I mean, good luck with trying to pick a winner, by the way, Mark, because, you know, I think that you could pick out maybe 10, a dozen players and not get any in the semi-final.
You know, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's so competitive, and we've already seen seeds fall left, right and centre. Michael Van Gerwen, Chisnell, Michael Smith, to name a few. Joe Cullen, all fell in the first matches of the day. It's worth mentioning as well, obviously, they played first today because they're the top seeds. So seeds 1 to 16 are your first games. Well, seeds 1 to 16 are the third games tomorrow. That's a little change they've made this year, so they're not always playing first, and the bottom seeds aren't always playing at the bottom end of the board. So it just shakes it up a bit. So
137. $99.
good last one. Lennon gets a look at 1-4-3 to break back. Do it here.
102.
Well, he's 41, and Scuba Steve here is really battling hard to keep his head above water because De Sousa could go 4-1 up. Needed a treble 18 to leave another pot shot at bullseye. Loose third
39.
dart from the Portuguese.
Yeah, so Lennon to get back on throw after a poor previous leg. Oh, did he start to walk there? Did he think it was in?
9.
And that one's further away, and Lennon will be disappointed. He'll be disappointed even more if this is converted. And it's double 5 for a 4-1 lead. And he
75.
just clips the wire.
Double 16 for Steve Lennon, and with one dart in hand, he can ill afford to miss, and he has missed. And De Sousa now, if he takes full advantage of those misses by Scuba Steve, is 4-1 up. He splits for double 4.
Game shot.
5 darts for 3-2. Jose De Sousa's won the last 2 legs in 40 darts. Back-to-back 20-dart legs. And yeah, Steve Lennon, a little shake of the head. But it's looking a bit desperate now.
Well, largely the special one has not had to do anything particularly special so far, has he? You know, just to plod on. Good enough, often enough.
59.
Steve Lennon, who I mentioned that game against Christoph Ratajski was the last 32 and the last 16. He's qualified for a couple of Euro Tours as well, so the form's been okay, and this is a bit uncharacteristic of the way he's played this year. This is better. He's not been spectacular, but been more like the Steve Lennon we're used to. Solid, gets himself in the odd TV event, makes himself hard to beat. This is
well, his ranking now 61st.
Yeah, well, the tour card's under threat now, isn't it? That always comes from missing the World Championship. You miss it once, you've obviously had a poor year, so money's coming off. You've not made the Worlds, and the Worlds is the one where you need to be, where the big money jumps are. That can kind of set you up, can't it, Rod?
82.
And I find myself thinking this quite a lot watching darts. I think that he is better than that ranking, but clearly they're not. Otherwise, they would be higher than that ranking. You know, they don't do it consistently enough.
Yeah, we often see glimpses of players and don't watch them week in, week out. But yeah, the old saying, rankings don't lie, but they can be
47.
very much influenced by the World Championship.
That is definitely true, yeah. God, he's been developing a loathing for that double 16 soon. It really is starting to irritate him, I'd imagine.
You don't generally split on double 16, but there might be an argument. You wouldn't mind, well, hit it, but go inside, isn't it? Different. I know it's only up to double 8, but
61.
you just start getting a bit, like you said, just getting a bit agitated by the double. There, he's a different target now. There we are. Listen to me.
The soothsayer, Mark Webster,
Splits
the darts
32.
doctor, has a cure for all your darting ills, and he diagnosed there, didn't he, coming inside double 16 to go up for double 8, and that's what happened. Yes, lovely to hear the diagnosis live here and see it put into practice. Keep taking the tablets, Steve.
Well, either way, his little battle with double 16 is over.
34.
He found, well, it's not over. He just found an alternative double to go to. But I think for Lennon, as he finds in a max, he's got to think to himself, it's kind of his performance has caused this result, not the outstanding display of De Sousa, and that sometimes gives you encouragement, being able to chase an opponent down. Well, that sort of slams the encouragement shut. It was a timing of a 185 in total in the match. A real battle going ahead, by the way. I mentioned this man earlier, Jeffrey De Swan, playing so much better. He's 4 apiece with Johnny Clayton.
Tops. Jose
42.
Just dragged it down. It would have been a 5-2 lead had he hit it. Lennon wants, well, at least 4 19s.
It's not in.
58.
De Sousa for, well, he really neat and tidy leg. You feel this, a visit within 5 legs on his throw. He feels going to get him home and hosed here, and De Sousa is one away from that match with the Belgian #1, Dimitri Van den Berg. Dylan Slevin on a run again here, 3-0 up against Keegan Brown. He's had a semi-final already. He's into his 5th tournament as a professional player.
De Sousa's 4th maximum, or was 140 it was.
93.
I was deceived, but even so, the 140 puts him in with every chance of winning this 6-2, and he has got the throw coming up in the next leg anyway.
41.
We know what's going to happen here, don't we? Steve Lennon will win the next 3 legs. We'll have yet another last leg decider. Only Damon Heta versus Thibaut Tricol in the first match of the day hasn't gone to a decider since then. Danny Van Tripe 6-5 over Meikle. Callum Ridd 6-5 over John O'Shea.
140.
Mike De Decker 6-5 over Graham Escher. Dimitri Van den Berg incredibly 6-5 over Richard Veenstra. That's who waits the winner. But it looks like
58.
the trend is going to stop here. Thankfully, De Sousa finds a 20.
140.
And what a setup. And unless Lennon can take the 167, De Sousa should be headed to the 3rd round.
91.
He should indeed. Tops it is.
John,
And it's all over as Jose De Sousa wins with something to spare. Steve Lennon made too many mistakes on doubles, and De Sousa took full advantage to canter home by 6 legs to 2 and take his place in the next round.